Chapter 32 The Year of Leisure. Yi Luyun came and then left, literally like the clouds that float around in the sky without leaving a trace. The residents of Tanyu City had no idea that one of the four great masters, whom they often mentioned with great respect in their casual conversations, had once come to Tanyu to drink, fight, and sing. Five Bamboo was slightly worried. Not many people in this world knew about his relationship with Miss, but Yi Luyun was one of them, and completely inconsistent with his status as a grandmaster, he was a notorious loudmouth. The fact that Yi Luyun came to Tanyu was too strange, and that he left after meeting with himself, Wu Zhu didn't believe it at all. Fan Xian, however, believed that Yi Luyun was indeed just a very simple traveler, patting Five Bamboo on the shoulder and consoling him. Who says that a master can't travel? This was just a very pure intuition. His intuition had always been accurate, always felt that there was something wrong with that old dad of his in Kyoto, the supervisory court, the assassins, the second mistress whose guts were even more venomous than a tigress's. So he thought that his own father, Earl Sinan, wasn't as simple as he appeared to be, or at least too much more powerful than a bagged lackey like Chao Yin. But the direction of his thinking went completely astray. He guessed whether his cheap old man could be the illegitimate son of the former emperor, old King Cheng, because back then, when his grandmother was working as a nanny in the King Cheng's mansion, the old emperor let her carry him back for adoption. Now Earl Sinan, because he was heartbroken about his own birth, hated the fact that his half-brother was sitting comfortably in the dragon chair while he could only be a minor earl, so he pretended to be a pig eating a tiger, and secretly colluded with the supervisory board and all the reactionary forces available to him, organizing a group of private forces with the delusional intention of accepting all of the family assets of the present Lord Emperor's Majesty. And himself? Because his mother was undoubtedly a big shot, he had become the product of some kind of marriage of family interests, and his own existence had a very important role to play in his father's rebellion. When he told the Five Bamboo the inferences he made when he was bored, the Five Bamboo, who never changed his face when he was facing the East Mountain, finally couldn't help but hack the kitchen knife in his hand into the chopping board, expressing a certain degree of respect for a certain teenager's crazy imagination. Because of this, Five Bamboos decided not to leave Tanyu with him for the time being. Since the crazy teenager himself wasn't worried about the future, still keeping a shy, curious smile on his face, always ready to plunge into the false rebellion of Count Sinan, and seemingly unconcerned about the dangers such a fallacy might bring, what was the blind Five Bamboos afraid of? Five Bamboo had never worried about his own life and death, but only about Fan Xian. And once Fan Xian appeared to be extremely perverted and unconcerned, the Five Bamboos would just let him be. Just as Fan Xian had started drinking at the age of 5, the Five Bamboos were only responsible for protecting Fan Xian's safety, and would not actively give too much advice. From the bottom of their hearts, this pair of masters and servants, this pair of masters and disciples are very lazy and bold characters. It's not that they don't know how to conspire, but they just think that sometimes the force in their hands is more powerful than conspiracy, so they subconsciously regard the conspiracy of the other side as a light-hearted matter, so they can come and go. But how can they do it? The so-called Bright Moon River, the so-called Wind Mountain. In fact, Fan Xian is not the bright moon, is shy curved moon eyebrow. He is still afraid of death, because he does not have the Five Bamboo this kind of superb means. But he knows that if he is behind the supervisory board of that Fei Jie and beside this blind servant, then he wants to die is not so easy. After witnessing that fight between Uncle Five Bamboos and one of the four great masters Yi Luyun at the cliffside, he was greatly shocked deep inside, and for such things as martial arts, he finally also experienced the beauty of that art in general with the tea ceremony and the calligraphy ceremony. So he temporarily stopped copying the Dream of the Red Chamber and devoted himself to cultivation. Five Bamboos himself did not have any how brilliant sword and fist techniques, but he was very knowledgeable about how to kill a person, emphasizing quickness, accuracy, straightness, and viciousness, and once said to Fan Xian, "Don't believe in arcs of roundedness, advancing to attack and retreating to defend. If you want to attack your opponent, then you must go straight. using the fastest speed, traveling the shortest distance, and inflicting the most irreversible damage on your opponent. Fan Xian immediately thought of the day Uncle Wu Zhu jumped straight off the cliff, thinking that this one really did walk the shortest distance, smiling bitterly and shaking his head, wondering how many years and months he would have to wait to reach that realm. One day after the Radish Silkier tutorial, Fan Xian waved his right arm that felt slightly sore and numb, looked at 5 bamboos who had his back turned to him, and asked curiously, according to what was said before, "How many levels of the realm am I in now?" 7th level of true Qi, 3rd level of control. Fan Xian quickly mentally calculated the results. An average is level 5, a bit higher than level 4, so you can get your diploma. The teenager was slightly smug, a slight color of pride in his pretty eyes. 5 Bamboo shook his head. If you're lucky enough to kill a level 7 character, if you're unlucky enough, that one level 3 little varmint could cut your life short. Fan Xian smiled and sighed, thinking to himself that this tender uncle really did speak directly enough, but it seemed like his own luck had always been quite good, or else he wouldn't have been able to run to this world after his death. After Yi Liuyun's visit, Fan Xian's life in Tanyuzu was truly peaceful. There were no more assassins looking for trouble, and the second mistress became much more honest after hearing that she had been seriously ill for a while. In Kyoto, Fan Ruo's letters were still sent once a month, while Fan Xian stayed in this small city by the sea, ate tofu, copied small books, occasionally wore some colorful clothes to filial piety to the old lady, went to the grocery store to drink wine, cut shredded carrots for himself to down the wine, and lived a very leisurely life. One day, a mirage appeared on the seashore, and the residents of Tanyu Port all ran out to see the fun. Although they were all longtime beach dwellers, they were still excited to see those nebulous, fairyland-like islands on the sea level. 5 Bamboo became strange, closed the door of the grocery store, walked to the remote beach, a person up the cliff, quietly looking at the picture, as if remembering something that makes him very unhappy. The mirage didn't last long and dissipated after a while, but he was still staring at it, looking over there through that black cloth, as if he wasn't blind. Fan Xian climbed up the cliff. His naked upper body appeared to be very well proportioned. Having gotten rid of his thin physique, he looked at 5 Bamboo sitting quietly over there, and not daring to disturb him, he also accompanied him and sat down, looking at that side of the sky that was reflected by the setting sun in the west into a fire-like color. After a long time, 5 Bamboo suddenly asked coldly, "How old are you this year?" Fan Xian tied up his long black hair behind his head, revealing a beautiful face that finally showed the first signs of valor in its childish beauty, and replied with a smile, 16.